Hi guys, it's Margie, and today I'm doing a movie review of the 2013 film Monsters University. This film had voice talent by Billy Crystal, John Goodman, Steve Buscemi, Helen Mirren, Peter Son, Joel Murray, Sean Hayes, Dave Foley, Charlie Day, Alfred Molina, Tyler Labine, Nathan Fillion, Aubrey Plaza, Bobby Monahan, Noah Johnston, Julia Sweeney, Bonnie Hunt, John Krasinski, Bill Hader, Beth Beers, Bob Peterson, and John Ratzenberger. It was directed by Dan Scanlon. Music was by Randy Newman, who also did the music for Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., Cars, Cold Turkey, and Avalon. Edited by Greg Snyder, who worked in the editorial department on Monsters, Inc. Screenplay was by Daniel Gerson, who also worked on the screenplay for Chicken Little, Monsters, Inc., and Cars. Robert L. Baird, who also worked on the screenplay for Chicken Little, Monsters, Inc., and Cars. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. And Dan Scanlon, who, as I just mentioned, also directed it. Produced by Pete Docter, who has produced Brave, and who directed Up and the original Monsters, Inc., John Lasseter, who's produced Up, Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., and of course, as we all know, directed Toy Story. He is just a huge animated master. It's unbelievable. Corey Ray, who also produced Up, Monsters, Inc., and The Incredibles. Andrew Stanton, who also produced Brave, Up, and Monsters, Inc., and Lee Unkrich. Okay, guys, so the basic plot for this movie is that it's the prequel to Monsters, Inc., and this is the story of Mike and Sully off at college and how they meet and how their relationship develops and some of the experiences they have, and it's kind of a coming-of-age story a little bit and that kind of thing. Not really like a simple plot that I can just tell you exactly what happens because I don't want to ruin anything for you, but you get the idea. Okay, so let's jump into performances for this one, guys. Performances for this one, me talking about them, will be a little different because this is voice talent. So it's just a little strange to critique performances, but they're still definitely critiquable. So let's get into this. And if you hear thunder, it's raining outside, so just saying. We'll start with Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal, I thought, gave a really good performance. He does so many wonderful things with his voice, and he brings the character of Mike so much to life. It is unbelievable. And Mike is actually my favorite character from Monsters, Inc., so I was excited to see if he would be able to continue the great connection he had to the character of Mike that he had in Monsters, Inc., and I thought he did. I thought he made Mike everything that Mike should be, and his voice talent is unbelievable, and I thought Billy Crystal did a great job. John Goodman obviously plays Sully. Again, great job. The only thing I would say is, to me, his performance seemed a little lazy. And I know the John Goodman fans are going to hate me for saying this, but like even in the scenes when Sully was supposed to be so excited and so like animated and everything, of course the character was, but like the voice was just a little dampened down for me. I didn't think he could have put in a little more oomph and really made the character soar, but that's just me nitpicky. Of course, he did a great job, and Billy Crystal and John Goodman have still got that great chemistry that they had back in 2001, so I thought they did great. Steve Buscemi always does a great job. I just realized my tongue is blue. Let's move on. Okay, Steve Buscemi, I thought he did a great job. I'm a huge fan of Steve Buscemi from the work I've seen of him, and he did such a great job at Monsters, Inc. back in 2001, and I thought he did a great job in this. He plays Randall Boggs, obviously, which he also played in Monsters, Inc., and he plays kind of a villain, and I enjoyed the way that they fleshed out the character and explained the relationship that would be to the future. That's got to do with writing, which I'll get to in just a mo. Let's move on to Helen Mirren, who plays Dean Hardscrabble. She's the dean of the college. I absolutely loved Helen Mirren's acting because in this role she had so much just evil, and, well, it wasn't really evil, it was just she invoked fear with her voice, but she wouldn't have been able to evoke that fear if the animators had literally not absolutely crushed her character. I mean, the facial features of her character were out of the world. And I went to see this movie in theaters with my grandmother, actually, and my grandmother was absolutely amazed at how wonderfully Dean Hardscrabble was portrayed. The animation, the facial features, just I mean, she was really intimidating, so I thought that was great. And I thought it was so wonderful to get to go see this movie with my grandmother because she is obviously elderly, and so I thought this is going to be great to see this from two different, you know, stages of life and get two different opinions on it. So, anyway, everybody else here that I mentioned, guys, had great performances. I mean, there wasn't any one voice actor that I was like, wow, you're bombing out. And I mentioned several names here, such as Bonnie Hunt, John Krasinski, Bill Hader. I mean, these people, like, you know, are just in the, you know, in the media a lot. They've acted in everything, and they had some really great, and some of them were comedians, and they had good performances, so I really enjoyed seeing them and listening out for their voices and fun stuff like that. Okay, let's move on to the directing for this. I really like the directing for this, guys. The only thing is, I did miss Pete Docter's touch a little bit. He directed Monsters, Inc. in 2001 because Pete Docter has this unbelievable gift for making the characters seem so human. It is unbelievable. And when the characters look sad or feel sad or whatever, you just want to feel sad with them. You connect so much with the characters. And I had a little harder time. I didn't really experience that many of those moments like I did in Monsters, Inc. So, anyway, I don't know. I thought he did such a great job, though, and this is only, like, you know, his, like, his fourth or fifth time directing, so I thought he did really, really well. Especially considering that, you know, Monsters, Inc. is extremely beloved, and he could have really botched it, and he did not. So, I thought he did great. The music for this, Randy Newman always hits it out of the park. He's perfect for animation. The music couldn't have been any better for this, if you ask me. The editing for this, I really like the editing for this. And some people, I don't think they did. I think they thought it was too long or got draggy. And I've heard some people say, oh, it was too short. It just didn't go on long enough. I thought it was the perfect length. And I thought that again, to me, good editing means a lot of times means I'm not sitting there thinking that should have been cut. And I did not think that about hardly any scenes in this movie. None that I can remember. So, again, I thought Greg Snyder did a great job. The screenplay for this. I liked the screenplay, but to me it was not as humorous as Monsters, Inc. was. But I mean, I still think that the writing for this was really good. It just wasn't as good as Monsters, Inc., if you ask me. And I know I'm comparing it to the previous movie, but I have to because that's why I went to go see Monsters U, is because I loved Monsters, Inc. So, I thought the writing for this was good. There were several funny moments, but to me, the humor was definitely more child-geared than Monsters, Inc. Monsters, Inc. had something hilarious for everyone, and this film had something hilarious for everyone, too. There was lines in Monsters University that were probably meant only for, like, older crowds, because obviously the animators know who's taking the kids to this movie, Mom and Dad. So, yeah, I thought there were moments that were, you know, there were lines that were written just for adults, and there were lines that were written just for children. However, there wasn't a whole lot of things that, at least in the theater I was in, that everybody laughed at. Like, it was either just the kids laughing or just Mom and Dad laughing. And to me, Monsters, Inc. hit that perfect balance because everybody was laughing, and you could enjoy the humor no matter what age you were and all of that kind of stuff. So, That's just my little comparison. On the whole, I thought the writing was great. I loved what they did with the characters. The story was good. It just wasn't as funny to me but as Monsters, Inc., but still an enjoyable film. And really, has so many cute moments, and I like the screenplay for this a lot. And forget Monsters, Inc. and view it as a standalone film. It's really, really good. Anyway. Okay, so let's jump into the parents' guide for this one before we wrap this one up, guys. You've got no language, obviously. You've got no drug or alcohol, obviously. We see the top of a male character's rear end, and that is pretty much like that would be your sexual content. But there is no real. There's one kiss, but it's between two animated characters. I mean, what? Anyway, as far as violence and gore, it's not really violence or gore, but it's frightening intensity. I have here the female villain, Dean Hardscrabble, is extremely scary. And of course, I wasn't scared, but I'm thinking, okay, if I was a 6-year-old, I would be terrified. And there was a child that actually sat a few rows in front of me that started whimpering when she came on the screen. So it is something to think about, parents, for the kiddos. And half your child in the theater started whimpering, and I think somebody had to take their child out when she came on because very scary, and the atmosphere that they put her in and the way they introduce her character is all very mystical and very spooky and mysterious, so it's something to watch out for. I would say, maybe watch this one before you take the kids to see it, because you know your child better than anyone, and you can judge whether or not it will give your child nightmares. So yeah, but they weren't meaning for her to be. I don't think they were meaning for her to be scary, just very intimidating, but it could definitely come across as scary to younger viewers. So be aware of that, parents. Okay, getting into the special notes. This is my favorite part of the review, and I just get here to look at the extra notes I have here at the bottom of this list here. The special notes are, I absolutely loved the colors and textures of this film. It was so visually beautiful. The camera would just go from the top of the campus, and all of the trees and the buildings and everything just pop you. It's unbelievable. It's so gorgeous. And the textures, when Dean Hardscrabble comes on, you see just every little part of her skin and her eyes, and just, oh my gosh, the characters are so well done, and that's animation. Oh my gosh. Of course, it's Disney Pixar. They always Pixar. King of animation, if you ask me. Their films are always visually out of the world. And this film is visually beautiful. I mean, to me, if you love animation, this is going to be a dream for you, if you love really good animation, because the animation on this, is absolutely incredible. It's incredible. Beautiful thing to watch. And then, again, the facial features and all of that. Loved all of that. And kind of wrapping this one up, guys, the only thing that I would have liked, I thought they did a great job. This is comparing it with Monsters, Inc. I know I'm wondering, but I thought they did a great job tying the two movies together, but I would have still liked to have seen a few more references to what would happen in the future. I mean, they tied in Randall Boggs wonderfully. They had a few characters that would be in the later movie be in this movie, and then so I thought they did great with that, but I would have liked to have just seen them wrap it up a little more, especially for people that watched Monsters, Inc., when they were younger and have now grown old and went back to see this one as, hopefully, because they love Monsters, Inc., a little more for them, but, because that was me. But, I thought it was great, and I loved the references, and I thought they did a wonderful job of explaining everything. They were very honoring, respectful of the the Monsters, Inc., the older film, and I could totally see letting, like, your child or whatever watch Monsters University first and then watch Monsters, Inc. It would make perfect sense. So I really enjoyed this film, and somebody asked me, do you think a sequel will follow, you know, for Monsters, Inc.? I do. I feel like that this film did well enough, and it's good enough of quality that probably eventually there will be a sequel because there's a market for it. And I'm looking forward to that. I would go see it, especially if, you know, some of the same people that worked on Monsters, Inc. and Monsters U would do the sequel. I would go see it because, again, I loved how respectful they were of Monsters, Inc., that they didn't try to, you know, degrade it, or like, they honored it in the fact that they acknowledged it so many times. It wasn't like, oh, that was their movie and this is our movie, you know, because you do have different people working on it. So, I mean, you have a lot of the same people, but you do have some different people. I'm giving this movie 3.5 stars out of 5. And that is coming from someone who absolutely, Monsters, Inc. is in my top 10 favorite animated films of all time. I love it. And I thought that they did a great job. About maybe like 3.75 stars out of 5. Almost 4, but not quite 4. I thought they did a great job. Would I watch this movie again? Okay. I would probably just go straight to Monsters, Inc. and watch Monsters, Inc. over and over, not the prequel. So, because it is a better film in my eyes, so I would probably say no, just because if I wanted to see something to do with, you know, Mike and Sully and all the crew, I would just watch the original. But that's just me. It's definitely worth a one-time watch, especially if you're a fan of Monsters, Inc. But if I was you, I would try and catch it on DVD or get it at Redbox or something. I don't know if it's worth going to see it in a theater. I did not see it in 3D. If that makes any difference to you, I still thought it was great without the 3D. So, anyway. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for checking out this review. Sorry it's kind of all over the place, but it's a rainy afternoon, and I'm all over the place, so this is what you get today. But thank you so much for checking out this review of the 2013 film Monsters University. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.